Hello and welcome to this tutorial on some strange punctuation marks that you don't use very often. They are parentheses, brackets, ellipses, and the ever-elusive slash mark. Do you have any idea what these are? Maybe if you're lucky, I'll mention about dashes and hyphens as well, if you're lucky. But mainly this is about those four other marks because another tutorial deals with a dash and a hyphen. So, place to start is for you to write down with this, a pen, what you think these marks look like and write down a sentence with them. Can you do that? Yes, you can, because you are so motivated to learn the ins and outs of the strange punctuation marks. Okay, on we go. All right, so on the simple level of what they look like, that's a parentheses, that's a bracket, looks kind of like a parentheses, but they're not the same. An ellipsis, those four periods, the slash mark, the dash is made up of two hyphens, and a hyphen is just one of those things. Okay, that's what they look like. Now, what do you use them for? How do you use them? All right, let's start with parentheses. You use parentheses to enclose additional material or minor thoughts. Like, Hank Aaron hit over 700 homers, average of 35 homers for 20 years straight during his career. Okay, do you see? This is sort of a minor thought. It's additional material. It doesn't really interrupt the flow of the sentence too much. But the writer has decided that it's just minor enough to enclose within these parentheses. I wonder if my mother, she's the tall lady over there, is having a good time. Now, these are pretty similar to dashes, which you could use here, but dashes are much more dramatic, less of a whisper that you kind of get implied with parentheses. Again, I have a whole tutorial on dashes, so I'm not going to say much about them at all here, other than they're very closely related to parentheses. Like this example. The fruit on the platter, oranges, apples, peaches, plums, will be eaten in an instant. Dashes, like parentheses, are interrupting the sentence to give more information, but the writer is deciding to make it more dramatic and obvious and in your face. Okay, I'm showing my age here, but you know the shows Seinfeld and Elaine in it? For those 2 or 3 of you out there who know it, she would go up to Jerry and shove him with her hands, right? All right, she is with her hands making a dash, which is dramatic and forceful. Elaine is not a parentheses kind of person, which is, again, sort of a whisper. It's not really all that important. Minor, a little bit shy. Okay, and just to make the point that a dash is made up of two hyphens. What's a hyphen? Well, there is a whole other tutorial about that, but really briefly, a hyphen is used to connect two words or more than two words that are acting as an adjective of one concept that is modifying a noun. That's a lot of words for something you probably understand. Like, look at the samples. A well-acted play. Okay, well-acted is one descriptor made up of two words modifying play. Or a hip-hop dance. Hip-hop is acting together as an adjective describing the kind of dance. Okay, so that's what a hyphen is, that's what a dash is, that's what parentheses are. Onward to brackets. Use brackets to enclose any words which you have inserted into a quotation. Whether it's the quotation from a dialogue or whether it's a quotation from research, in any event, if you, the writer, are intruding yourself into this quote, you use brackets. Like, as Senator Byrd said, the people of Charleston, the capital of West Virginia, are the finest around. All right, Senator Byrd did not say the capital of West Virginia. You are saying that to clarify what Charleston is. People might not know what that is. Now you also use brackets. It's the same rule here. You use it even for the smallest changes in a quotation if you are the one changing the original. For example, Grant told his soldiers to fight to the end. Okay, in the original document, it says to fight to the end is a soldier's honor. You see the word to, how it's capitalized, the T? Well, in the structure of the sentence that you are using, you are making it lowercase. Yes, even if you are changing a single letter from uppercase to lowercase or the other way around, you must use brackets to indicate that you, the writer, have made that change. You'll often see this with the changing of verb endings to fit your particular sentence. For example, honoring thy father is a cornerstone of the Bible. Well, the original is honor thy father. But the writer here wants to tack on a little bit more, that ing phrase. So that's not what the original looked like. But you can do it, you can insert it, but you have to have the brackets to declare that you, the writer, have made this change. Okay, stay with me. A few more things on brackets. Use brackets in the Latin word sic, S-I-C, after an error in the quotation that is not your own. Same principle, which is you are inserting some information that is not in the original. In this case, you are letting your reader know that that mistake you see, it's not mine. It's not mine. It's that way in the original. For example, there is no solution in sight for the Iraq War. All right, well, they used the wrong there. That's not your mistake. That's the original's mistake. Put sick in there. And look how Iraq is spelled. I-R-A-K? No. You know how to spell Iraq with a Q, but the original writer doesn't. Let your reader know that mistake with the sick. Just keep this in mind, though. If you are quoting a dialogue, people are always mangling language and they have their own slang in there. No, you don't want to use sick in that case. For example, talk to me like that, I'll hit you across the face, she said. Don't put sick in after heat. That's just how it was used, right? And or the next one, the man from Brooklyn said, hey kid, where'd you learn to play the guitar? Okay, there are changes in spelling in there. All right, that's dialogue. That's how people talk. Don't put sick in there. It's mainly used how I have it in the first example, which is from quotations you're using that you are embedding in your own writing as research. And finally, one more thing about brackets, but before I show it to you, think about it. What if you have a parentheses that you're using, but you also have a parentheses inside of a parentheses? What would you do there? Would you just use parentheses? Would it look strange? Hark, no! You use brackets for a parentheses inside of a parentheses. The former president of Columbia College, parentheses, his name is Jim Riggs. Parentheses inside of a parentheses. I can't use that. It'll confuse people. Brackets! He is now at Ventura College, will be in town. Okay, you may go an entire lifetime, maybe many lifetimes, and never, ever use this. But just letting you know the full range of the possibilities with brackets. By the way, you use this for math, don't you? Math equations? Sure. Onward to punctuation mark number 3, the ellipsis, the ... An ellipsis is 3 spaced periods. You got that? You hit the space bar between each of the periods that indicate some words have been removed from a quotation. Could be 1 word, 2 words, could be 17 pages. According to Sigmund Freud, our dreams are a window into our soul. Well, I just made this up, but let's presume that he has other sentences or other words between our dreams and our window. But you, as the writer, find those irrelevant to your purposes right here. So you use the ellipsis, the ... spaces between them to indicate that words have been taken out of the quote. Now, 2 refinements to ellipsis. The first one, if you delete a full sentence, then use a 4th one, but that's the period, the end of the sentence. Like, John Donne wrote, "No man is an island." Okay, there's a lot more in there. Many sentences taken out. Every man's death diminishes me. Okay, you got it? And don't use an ellipsis at the start of a quote. Don't use it at the end of the sentence unless you've cut some words from the final quoted sentence. The presumption being, the logic being that yes, of course, there will be words that come before this quote, and there will be words coming after it. So really you just want to use the ellipsis for words taken out of the middle of the quote, unless, as the note here says, you are ending the sentence and then you need that final period. And finally, the slash mark, which you use in English 1B or other literature courses where you're writing papers that involve poetry. So you use a slash to separate 2 or 3 lines of poetry that are part of the paragraph. And as a side note, if it's more than that, then you indent the quotation. But we're not dealing with that here. If it's a shorter quotation from poetry, you use the slash mark. When Eliot writes in Prufrock, "Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky," he is inviting us to go on a journey. Okay, those are 3 lines of poetry that you are embedding into your own paragraph. If there were a 4th line, which is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table, then you would not be using slashes. You would have an indented quote. Again, that's a different matter. Here, take a look at what it looks like and why we are using it. Speaking of what it looks like, note, you add a space before and after the slash. Now, there is another use for slash, and that is when you are separating options, like it's a pass-fail test, either or, a yes-no question. Okay? So in that case, you do not add a space before or after the slash. And that's it. You have these punctuation marks down. They are not strange any longer. No! You know how to use parentheses for these minor thoughts that intrude into a sentence, and yet they're different from a dash. You've learned about that. Dash is a little bit more aggressive. And you also learned about a hyphen, totally different animal, connecting words that are acting as one adjective. Brackets, you got that down, right? What they look like when they are used, when you are making a change in a quotation, whether it's a whole phrase that you're adding that wasn't in the original, or even if it's a single letter that you're changing, you use brackets for that. And the rare use of a parentheses inside of a parentheses, it would go confusing, crazy if you went that and that too many times. No, you use a bracket as that interior parentheses. For ellipsis, if you're taking words out of a quote, you use the dot, dot, dot with spaces between them. And the slash mark that you use when you are quoting just a couple of lines of poetry with a space before and after. The other use for the slash is the either or, yes, no, the choice is right away. So that is it. You have these marks down. Now go forth! You have been empowered with the punctuation marks. Hope this has helped out. Okay.